I stood there
Stunning,
drenched in
darling.
filthy rainwater, 7 months pregnant,
Get a shot of that. She's
shivering as
crying.
thunder roared above me. My husband's
Please, don't
stepsister
shut the
had just
door.
thrown a
Let me
bucket of
back
dirty
inside,
water on me
please.
at a family wedding. Then she shoved me outside into the storm and locked the door. Everyone
open
inside
the
was
door.
laughing. I
need
pounded
help.
on that door
Let
until
me
my
in.
hands bled.
Please.
I
Somebody
screamed
let me
until my
in.
throat was raw, but nobody came. I thought that was the worst moment of my life. I was wrong, because what happened next nearly destroyed my marriage, almost killed my baby, and exposed a family secret worth $8 million. But here is what they did not know about me. I was not some helpless gold digger they could throw away like trash. I was a woman with a plan, a hidden savings account, and absolutely nothing left to lose. And a woman with nothing left to lose, she is the most dangerous thing in the world. This is my story, and trust me, you are not ready for how it ends. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because this story has more twists than you can imagine, and you will not want to miss a single second of what happens next. Now let me take you back to where it all began. I stood there drenched in filthy rainwater, shivering as thunder roared above me. My pregnant belly pressed against the soaked fabric of my ruined dress. Mud splattered up my legs, mixing with tears I could not stop. 3 hours ago, I had walked into that mansion believing I could win over my husband's family. 3 hours ago, I still had hope. Now I stood in a storm, 7 months pregnant, pounding on a locked door while laughter echoed from inside. My husband's stepsister had just thrown a bucket of dirty water on me and shoved me into the pouring rain. Everyone had watched, everyone had laughed, and no one had stopped her. My name is Claire Bennett. Well, Claire Whitmore now. And before I tell you how I ended up standing in that storm, you need to understand something about me. I was not born into wealth. I was not raised with silver spoons or trust funds or summers in the Hamptons. I grew up in a small town in Tennessee, the kind of place where everybody knows your business and your neighbors bring casseroles when someone dies. My parents worked hard for everything we had. My daddy drove trucks for 32 years until his back gave out. My mama cleaned houses for wealthy families in Nashville, coming home with hands cracked in red, smelling like lemon polish and other people's laundry. They taught me the value of hard work. They taught me to treat everyone with kindness, from the janitor to the CEO. They taught me that a person's worth is measured by their character, not their bank account. Those lessons shaped who I became, but they also made me an easy target for people who mistake kindness for weakness. I became a nurse, an emergency room nurse, to be specific. I love my job. I love the chaos of it, the way every shift brought something different, the way I could hold someone's hand during the worst moment of their life and somehow make it just a little bit better. For 12 years, I worked doubles and triples. I saved every penny I could. By the time I was 31, I had $47,000 tucked away in a savings account that nobody knew about. My escape fund, I called it. My mama had taught me that. Always have an exit plan, Claire. Always have money that belongs to you and you alone. I never thought I would need it, but I kept it anyway. Then I met Marcus Whitmore. It was not some fairy tale meeting at a fancy gala or a chance encounter in first class. No, I met Marcus in the oncology wing of St. Mary's Hospital, where his mother was dying of pancreatic cancer. Eleanor Whitmore was 63 years old and had been given 6 months to live. She was assigned to my care for her final weeks, and I did what I always did. I held her hand, I listened to her stories. I made sure she was comfortable and dignified and never, ever alone when she was scared. Marcus would visit every day, this tall, handsome man in expensive suits who clearly had more money than he knew what to do with. But he never acted like those other wealthy families I had seen come through the hospital. The ones who treated nurses like servants, who complained about the thread count of the sheets, who demanded special treatment. Marcus sat with his mother for hours. He read to her. He held her hand. He cried when he thought no one was watching. One night I found him in the chapel at 3 a.m, head bowed, shoulders shaking. I sat down next to him and did not say a word, just sat there, letting him know he was not alone. After his mother passed, Marcus asked me to coffee. I almost said no. I mean, look at him and look at me. He was a billionaire. I was a nurse who drove a 10-year-old Honda Civic and ate ramen noodles 3 times a week to save money. But something in his eyes was genuine, warm, real. That coffee turned into dinner. Dinner turned into long walks along the river, talking about everything and nothing. And 6 months later, Marcus Whitmore got down on one knee in the same hospital chapel where I had found him crying and asked me to marry him. I said yes. Our wedding was small, 30 guests, mostly my family, and a few of Marcus's business associates. I did not want a spectacle. I did not want a 12-tier cake or ice sculptures or a dress that cost more than my parents' house. I wanted Marcus. That was all. His family did not come. Oh, they had excuses. His stepmother Victoria had a charity commitment she simply could not miss. His stepsister Brittany was at a wellness retreat in Bali. His father had passed years ago, so that was not an issue. But I knew the truth. They did not approve of me. To them, I was just a gold digger, a nobody who had trapped their precious Marcus with charm and manipulation. It did not matter that Marcus and I genuinely loved each other. It did not matter that I had never asked him for a single thing. In their eyes, I would never be good enough. I told myself it did not matter. I had Marcus. I had love. What more did I need? But here is the thing about marrying into wealth. The money does not come alone. It comes with family expectations, with social obligations, with people who judge you based on your bank account rather than your character. And sometimes it comes with enemies who will stop at nothing to destroy you. I just did not know it yet. For our first year of marriage, I barely saw Marcus's family. A few brief encounters at holidays, stilted conversations over expensive wine, and then we would leave. Marcus always protected me, always stood between me and their cold stares. Then I got pregnant. Everything changed. Suddenly, Victoria wanted to host a baby shower. Suddenly, Brittany was commenting on my Instagram post with heart emojis. Suddenly, everyone wanted to be involved in the life of the Whitmore heir. Marcus was thrilled. He thought his family was finally coming around. He thought they were accepting me. I wanted to believe it too. I wanted so badly to believe that people could change, that kindness could melt even the coldest hearts. So I let my guard down. And that was my first mistake. The Whitmore estate sat on 40 acres of prime real estate just outside Nashville. A sprawling mansion with 12 bedrooms, a tennis court, an indoor pool, and a hedge maze that I got lost in once and had to call Marcus to find me. I still remember the first time I drove up that long driveway. My little Honda looked so out of place among the Bentleys and Mercedes. I felt like a fraud, like someone was going to tap me on the shoulder and tell me I did not belong here. That feeling never really went away. Victoria Whitmore was 61 years old and had been married to Marcus's father, Richard, for 25 years before his death. She was elegant in that cold, expensive way. Designer clothes, perfect hair, a smile that never quite reached her eyes. She had married Richard for money. Everyone knew it. Richard had been a widower for just 2 years when Victoria swept into his life, all charm and sympathy. Within 6 months, they were married. Within a year, she had redecorated the entire mansion and inserted herself into every aspect of the Whitmore business empire. Her daughter Brittany came as part of the package. Brittany was 29 now, an Instagram influencer with 2.3 million followers and brand deals worth more than I would make in a lifetime. She was everything I was not. Polished, sophisticated, dripping in designer clothes and entitled attitude. She hated me from the moment we met. The first time I came to a family dinner after Marcus and I got engaged, Brittany looked me up and down like I was something she had stepped in. "Oh," she said, her voice dripping with false sweetness, "you must be the nurse." She said the word nurse like other people might say cockroach. I smiled and extended my hand. "I am. It is nice to finally meet you. Marcus talks about you all the time, does he?" She did not take my hand. How sweet. That set the tone for every interaction we would ever have. At every family gathering, Brittany found ways to make me feel small. Subtle comments about my clothes, my background, my lack of social connections. She would ask questions designed to humiliate me. "Claire, which designer made your dress? Oh, you do not know. How interesting." "Claire, where did you summer before you met Marcus? You did not summer anywhere." "I see." "Claire, which charity boards do you sit on?" "None." "Well, I suppose not everyone is meant for philanthropy." Victoria was more subtle, but no less cruel. She had a way of making insults sound like compliments. It is so refreshing to have someone so simple in the family, Victoria would say. All these high society women can be so exhausting. You must be such a relief for Marcus. Like coming home to a plain meal after too much rich food. I always smiled and nodded. I always took the high road. I always told myself that killing them with kindness would eventually work. Marcus defended me when he heard these comments. He would shut them down immediately, set boundaries, make it clear that disrespecting me meant disrespecting him. But he could not be everywhere all the time. And they knew exactly when to strike. When I announced my pregnancy at 6 weeks, Victoria's reaction told me everything I needed to know. "A baby," she said, her smile frozen on her face. "How wonderful. I suppose we should discuss the prenatal paternity testing options, just to make sure everything is in order for the trust fund, you understand." Marcus exploded. He told Victoria that if she ever suggested something like that again, she would be cut off entirely. Victoria apologized, claimed she was just thinking of the family's best interests, said she had not meant to imply anything. But the damage was done. From that moment on, I knew. This was not just casual dislike. This was war. The only person in that household who treated me like a human being was Dolores Martinez. Everyone called her Dolly. She had been the head housekeeper for the Whitmore family for 20 years. A sturdy woman with silver-streaked hair and eyes that saw everything. The first time we met, she pulled me aside in the kitchen. "Mrs. Clare," she said, her voice low, "you seem like a nice lady. Too nice for this house. I'm just trying to fit in," I told her. She shook her head. "In this house, nice gets you eaten alive." I laughed nervously. It cannot be that bad. She looked at me for a long moment, then shrugged. "And I want to win the lottery. We do not always get what we want." She walked away, leaving me with a chill that had nothing to do with the air conditioning. There was one other person in the family who intrigued me. Marcus's grandfather, Henry Whitmore. He was 89 years old, confined to a wheelchair, and everyone treated him like he was already dead. "Poor grandfather," Victoria would say. "The dementia has really taken its toll. He barely knows where he is most days." Whenever I saw Henry, he was parked in a corner somewhere, staring out a window or at a wall. Nurses came and went. Family members walked past without acknowledging him. But once, just once, I caught him looking at me. And in that brief moment, I could have sworn I saw something sharp in his eyes, something aware. Then it was gone and he went back to staring at nothing. I told myself I had imagined it. Another mistake. The wedding invitation arrived on a Tuesday, 6 months into my pregnancy. It was for Nathan Whitmore's wedding. Nathan was Marcus's cousin, one of the few family members who had actually been kind to me. He had come to our small wedding, had sent a genuine congratulations card, had even called to check on me when he heard about the pregnancy. Marcus was thrilled about the invitation. "Nathan is a good guy," he said, "and his fiancée Sarah is great. You will love her." I smiled and agreed, even though the thought of spending an entire day with Victoria and Brittany made my stomach turn. Then came the business trip. Marcus, a cybersecurity breach at one of his company's biggest clients, required his personal attention. The meeting was in Singapore. It could not be rescheduled. "I will cancel," he said, pacing our bedroom. "I am not leaving you alone with them." "I am pregnant, not helpless," I told him. "Go save your company. I will charm your family." He looked at me with worried eyes. "Promise me, if anything feels wrong, you leave immediately. Do not try to be polite. Do not try to smooth things over. You just leave. I promise," I said. He kissed me goodbye, and I watched him go. If I had known what was waiting for me at that wedding, I would have begged him to stay. But I did not know, and so I prepared to walk into the storm. The morning of Nathan's wedding, I woke to the sound of thunder in the distance. I checked my phone. The weather forecast showed a severe storm system moving in, the kind that knocks out power and floods streets. Marcus had already texted me 3 times, asking if I was sure I wanted to go. "I will be fine," I texted back. "Stop worrying and focus on your meeting." "I love you," he replied, "both of you." I smiled and placed my hand on my belly, feeling the baby kick. "We love you too," I typed. "Now go be a billionaire." Getting dressed took longer than usual these days. At 7 months pregnant, nothing fit right anymore. I chose a simple peach-colored dress, modest and elegant. Nothing that would draw attention, nothing that would give Brittany ammunition. When you are the outsider, I had learned, do not give them ammunition. Blend in, observe, then decide if they are worth your energy. Before I left, I packed a small bag and put it in the trunk of my car. Cash, phone charger, change of clothes, comfortable shoes, something my mama taught me. Always have an exit plan. The drive to the wedding venue took almost 2 hours. The estate was even more impressive than the Whitmore Mansion, a historic plantation house that had been converted into an event venue, with sweeping lawns and ancient oak trees draped in Spanish moss. By the time I arrived, the sky had turned an angry gray. Wind bent the trees, scattering leaves across the perfectly manicured grounds. The first drops of rain were starting to fall. I hurried inside, one hand on my belly, the other holding my small clutch purse. The moment I walked through the doors, I felt the stares. Women in designer gowns and dripping with diamonds turned to look at me. They whispered behind their hands, their eyes traveling from my simple dress to my swollen belly to my face. "That is her?" I heard someone say. I expected someone more polished. "She was a nurse," another voice responded. "Can you imagine?" A nurse. I kept my head high and walked toward the seating area. I would not let them see me falter. I would not give them the satisfaction. "Claire," a familiar voice called out. "You came. How brave of you." Brittany appeared beside me, wearing a stunning red gown that probably cost more than my car. Her smile was sweet, but her eyes were cold as ice. She linked her arm through mine like we were best friends, but her grip was tight enough to hurt. "I love your dress," she said loudly enough for nearby guests to hear. "It is so practical, very sensible for someone in your condition." I forced a smile. "Thank you. You look beautiful as always." "I know." She steered me through the crowd, introducing me to her friends. "Everyone, this is Marcus's wife, his little charity project." Laughter rippled through the group. I extracted myself as quickly as I could and found a seat in the back of the hall, away from the main family section. My cheeks burned with humiliation, but I told myself to breathe, to stay calm, to get through this day. The ceremony was beautiful, at least. Nathan and his bride Sarah exchanged vows while rain began to pound against the windows. Thunder rumbled overhead, but inside everything was warm and romantic. Candles flickered, music played. Two people in love promised forever. I thought about Marcus and me, about our simple wedding, our quiet promises, about the life we were building together. Maybe this day would not be so bad after all. The reception began and the storm outside intensified. Lightning cracked across the sky, illuminating the grand ballroom in brief, stark flashes. Some guests looked nervous, but the party continued. Champagne flowed. People danced. Laughter filled the air. I stayed in my corner, trying to be invisible, trying to survive until I could reasonably leave. Then I noticed the catering staff struggling. They were clearly short-handed. Trays were piling up. Drinks needed refilling. The head caterer looked frantic, and several of his servers seemed overwhelmed. Old habits kicked in. I had worked in restaurants during college. I had spent 12 years as a nurse, jumping in wherever I was needed. I could not just sit there watching people struggle. I got up and started helping. Carrying trays, refilling water glasses, clearing empty plates. Nothing dramatic, just quiet assistance. That was my mistake. I did not see Brittany watching me from across the room. I did not see her pull out her phone and start recording. "Look at this, everyone," Brittany's voice rang out through the ballroom. "The billionaire's wife is working as a servant. Some habits die hard, I guess." I froze, a tray of empty glasses in my hands. Everyone turned to look. Phones came out. People started recording. "I suppose once a waitress, always a waitress," Brittany continued, walking toward me. "Though I have to admit, I am surprised Marcus lets you out in public. Does he know you are here embarrassing him?" My face burned. I set down the tray carefully, my hands shaking. "I was just trying to help," I said quietly. "Of course you were." Brittany's smile widened. "That is what your kind does, is it not? Serve your betters." Laughter erupted around us. I looked for a friendly face, anyone who might step in. But everyone was watching like this was entertainment. Even Victoria stood near the bar, a slight smile on her lips. I turned to walk away, but Brittany grabbed my arm. Where are you going? We are not done here. Let go of me, I said, my voice trembling. She leaned in close, her voice a whisper only I could hear. I am going to make sure Marcus sees exactly what kind of trash he married. By the time I am done, you will wish you had never set foot in this family. Then she raised her voice again. Someone get this woman a proper uniform. If she is going to act like the help, she should dress like it too. More laughter, more phones recording. I pulled my arm free and started walking toward the door. I just needed to get out. I just needed to get to my car, to call Marcus, to go home. But I did not make it. The storm outside had gotten worse. Water was leaking through one of the side entrances, and staff had placed buckets to catch the drips. The buckets were filling with dirty rainwater, brown with mud and debris from outside. I was almost to the door when Brittany stepped in front of me. Leaving so soon? Her eyes glittered with malice. The party is just getting started. I need to go home, I said. I am not feeling well. Oh, you do not look well at all. She tilted her head, studying me. In fact, you look absolutely filthy. All that serving and cleaning. You must be covered in other people's germs. Please move, I said. Let me pass. But you know what? She walked toward one of the buckets, her heels clicking on the marble floor. You have always been dirty, Claire. Dirty background, dirty intentions, dirty little gold digger who trapped my stepbrother. She picked up the bucket. My heart stopped. No, I whispered. Brittany, please. I am pregnant. Should have thought about that before you wormed your way into this family. She threw the water. The filthy rainwater hit me like a wave. It was cold, so cold it took my breath away. Brown water soaked through my dress instantly, plastering my hair to my face and neck. Mud and debris clung to my skin, dripped down my arms, pulled at my feet. I stood there in shock, unable to move or speak. And they laughed. The whole room erupted in laughter, not just polite chuckles, but genuine, cruel amusement, like this was the funniest thing they had ever seen. A pregnant woman standing in filthy water, shaking and crying. Oh my God, someone said between laughs. Did you get that on video? Brittany was practically glowing with satisfaction. Since you are already wet, she said, why do not you enjoy the weather outside? Before I could react, hands grabbed me from behind. Brittany's friends, I realized. Two women I did not know, their perfectly manicured nails digging into my arms. Please, I begged as they dragged me toward the door. Please stop. Think about the baby. You should have thought about the baby before you tried to steal our family's money. One of them hissed. The door flew open. Wind and rain blasted into the entrance. And then I was shoved outside. I stumbled down the steps and fell to my knees in the muddy driveway. The rain hit me like needles, soaking what little of me was still dry. Lightning cracked across the sky. Thunder shook the ground. I turned back to the door, but it was already closing. No, I screamed. Wait, please. The door slammed shut. I crawled to my feet and ran to the entrance, pounding on the heavy wood with both fists. Please, I sobbed. Let me in. I am pregnant. The baby. But I could hear them inside, laughing, celebrating. Someone had turned up the music. No one was coming. I pounded until my hands ached. I screamed until my throat was raw. The rain pounded down on me, mixing with my tears, washing away what little dignity I had left. Lightning cracked again. So close I could smell the ozone. Thunder followed immediately, a boom that rattled my bones. I was going to die out here. My baby was going to die out here. And no one cared. I collapsed against the door, sliding down to sit on the wet stone steps. My beautiful peach dress was ruined, brown with mud and plastered to my body. My hair hung in wet ropes around my face. I was shivering so hard my teeth chattered. The baby kicked inside me, and I wrapped my arms around my belly. I am sorry, I whispered to my child. I am so sorry. I should have listened. I should have been smarter. I do not know how long I sat there. Minutes? Hours? Time lost all meaning in the cold and the dark and the rain. I was about to try to make it to my car, to find shelter somewhere, anywhere, when I saw headlights cutting through the storm. A car pulled up the driveway, moving fast. The headlights blinded me as it screeched to a stop just feet away. The driver's door flew open, and there was Marcus. He was still in his business suit, his briefcase in his hand. The rain soaked him immediately, plastering his shirt to his chest, darkening his expensive shoes with mud. Our eyes met. His expression went from confusion to horror to absolute fury in the span of a single heartbeat. He dropped his briefcase and ran to me, his shoes splashing through puddles. Alicia! His voice broke as he knelt beside me. What happened? What? Who did this? He pulled off his suit jacket and wrapped it around my shoulders, even though we were both already soaked. His hands cupped my face, his eyes searching mine with such concern, such rage that I started crying harder. I am sorry, I whispered. I am so sorry. Do not, his voice was firm. Do not you dare apologize. Tell me what happened. Tell me everything. Before I could answer, he scooped me up in his arms and carried me toward the door. He did not knock. He did not wait for permission. He kicked the door open with such force that it slammed against the wall, the sound echoing through the grand entrance hall like a gunshot. The music stopped. The laughter died. The entire wedding hall went silent. Marcus walked into that ballroom carrying me in his arms, both of us dripping water and mud onto their perfect marble floors. His presence filled the room. Powerful, commanding, terrifying. Every eye was on us, but Marcus was not looking at them. He was scanning the crowd like a predator hunting prey, searching for someone specific. He set me down gently but kept his arm around me, holding me close. Water dripped from his hair, from his ruined suit. But he did not care. He was focused entirely on one thing, finding out who hurt me. Someone, he said in a voice so cold it made people step back, is going to tell me why my wife was standing in a storm. Silence. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. I felt Marcus's arm tighten around my shoulders. He looked down at me, his voice softening just for me. Tell me everything, Claire. Every detail. Every person. My voice shook as I told him. The bucket of dirty water, Brittany throwing it on me, the laughter, being dragged and pushed outside. The locked door, all of it. With every word, I felt Marcus's body tense. His jaw clenched so tight I thought it might break. His breathing became controlled, measured, the kind of calm that comes before destruction. When I finished, he turned to face the crowd. His eyes found Brittany immediately. She was trying to blend into a group of guests near the bar, her earlier confidence completely gone. Her face was pale. Her hands were shaking. Brittany, Marcus said quietly, step forward. She did not move. I said step forward. His voice thundered through the hall and Brittany jumped. She took small, hesitant steps toward us, her eyes darting around, looking for help that was not coming. Victoria stood frozen by the bar, her mask of calm cracking for the first time. Marcus stared at Brittany with such intensity that she actually started crying. You want to treat people like trash, he said. You want to humiliate them for entertainment? Let me show you what that actually costs. He pulled out his phone and started making calls right there in front of everyone. This is Marcus Whitmore, he said into the phone. Effective immediately, Brittany Whitmore is removed from her position at Huntington Enterprises. Cancel all credit cards linked to family accounts under her name. Yes, all of them. Another call. The penthouse on Riverside. The one owned by my company. Brittany has 48 hours to vacate. Security will supervise. Another call. Contact our lawyers about trust fund access suspension. Yes, hers specifically. I want it frozen by midnight. Brittany's legs gave out. She collapsed to her knees on the marble floor, mascara running down her face. Marcus, please, she begged. I am sorry. It was just a joke. Please do not do this. He looked down at her with undisguised contempt. Jokes are funny, he said. Cruelty is not. You humiliated my pregnant wife in front of everyone. You threw dirty water on her like she was garbage. You locked her outside in a storm. You laughed while she suffered. He leaned down slightly. That was not a joke. That was evil. But everyone was laughing. Brittany screamed, desperation cracking her voice. I was not the only one. Look around. They all thought it was funny. No, Marcus agreed, straightening up. You were not the only one. He turned to address the entire room. His next words sent shockwaves through the crowd. Everyone who laughed, everyone who recorded, everyone who participated in any way. If you work for any company I own or have business with, consider your position under review. If you receive financial support from the Whitmore Family Trust, that support is now conditional. He paused, letting his words sink in. Treat my wife with disrespect again, and you are cut off completely. Family or not. His father's widow tried to intervene. Victoria stepped forward, her face carefully composed. Marcus, you are overreacting, she said smoothly. I am sure this was just a misunderstanding. Brittany can be dramatic, but she is your sister. Stepsister, Marcus corrected coldly. And Claire is my wife, my family, the woman I chose, the woman I love. He looked around the room at all the shocked faces, the people still holding their phones, the ones who had laughed and recorded and done nothing to help. Every single person in this room just showed me exactly who they really are. He pulled out his phone again and started typing. Within seconds, phones around the room began lighting up with notifications. I found out later that he had posted a public statement defending me, explaining what had happened, making it clear that anyone who disrespected his wife would answer to him. The videos people had recorded were already circulating, but now instead of being the entertainment, they became evidence of cruelty. The comment sections exploded with outrage. Hashtags started trending. The public backlash against Brittany was instant and brutal. But Marcus was not done. He called for security. Two large men appeared within minutes. Please escort Miss Whitmore outside, Marcus said. Through the same door she pushed my wife through. Marcus! Brittany screamed as the security guards took her arms. You cannot do this. I am your sister. No, he said. You are nothing to me. The guards dragged her toward the door, the same door that had been locked against me. The door flew open, and rain and wind blasted into the entrance hall. Brittany screamed and struggled, but the guards were stronger. They pushed her out into the storm, and the door slammed shut behind her. Poetic justice. Through the windows, I could see her standing in the rain, soaked and crying, exactly as I had been. She pounded on the door, exactly as I had done. No one moved to let her in. The wedding was effectively over. The bride was in tears, though I suspected they were more about the ruined reception than any sympathy for me. Nathan approached us, apologizing profusely, saying he had no idea this would happen. Marcus accepted his apology but made his position clear. We are leaving, he said, and I expect a personal apology from everyone involved to be delivered to my wife within the week. Then he wrapped his arm around me and guided me out through a side entrance, away from the staring crowds and the flashing phone cameras. The rain was still coming down, but it was lighter now. The worst of the storm had passed. Marcus helped me into his car, wrapping me in blankets he had in the back seat. He turned on the heat full blast and held my hand as we drove away from that nightmare. I leaned my head against the window, watching the mansion disappear in the rearview mirror. I thought it was over, I whispered. It is, Marcus said firmly. I will never let anyone hurt you again. I closed my eyes and believed him. That was my next mistake. For 3 days, I stayed in bed. Not because I was physically injured, though the doctor did recommend rest after the stress and exposure, but because I was broken in ways that did not show on the surface. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw their laughing faces. I felt the cold, dirty water hitting my skin. I heard the door slamming shut, leaving me alone in the storm. Marcus took time off work to stay with me. He brought me tea and soup. He held me when I cried. He answered the constant phone calls from lawyers and public relations people and family members trying to do damage control. The story had gone viral. Billionaire's wife humiliated at family wedding. Pregnant woman locked out in storm by cruel stepsister. The headlines were everywhere. Videos of Brittany throwing the water on me had millions of views. The public was on my side. For once, Brittany's life fell apart spectacularly. Her Instagram followers dropped by hundreds of thousands overnight. Brand deals were canceled. Sponsors distanced themselves. She was evicted from her luxury penthouse and forced to move into a small apartment. The last I heard, she was looking for a regular job, something in retail. I should have felt vindicated. I should have felt like justice had been served. But something was bothering me. Victoria had been too quiet. During the entire incident, she had stood by the bar, watching. She had not participated, but she had not stopped it either. And when Marcus confronted Brittany, Victoria had barely reacted, almost as if she had expected it, almost as if this was all part of some larger plan. Then the apology came. Victoria showed up at our door 1 week after the wedding, carrying an enormous bouquet of flowers and wearing an expression of deep remorse. "Claire," she said, her voice trembling, "I am so terribly sorry about what happened. I had no idea Brittany was capable of such cruelty. I should have stepped in. I should have stopped it." I stood in the doorway, unsure what to say. "Please," she continued, "may I come in? I would like to apologize properly to both you and Marcus." Against my better judgment, I let her in. She sat in our living room and cried, actual tears rolling down her carefully made-up face. She talked about how ashamed she was of her daughter, how she had raised Brittany better than this, how she would personally ensure nothing like this ever happened again. Marcus was not home. He had gone back to work that day, confident that the worst was over. So it was just me and Victoria. "I accept your apology," I said finally, "but I hope you understand that it will take time to rebuild trust." "Of course," Victoria said, dabbing at her eyes with a handkerchief. "I would expect nothing less. You are a remarkable woman, Claire. I see now why Marcus loves you so much." She left the flowers and departed with another round of apologies. I put the flowers in a vase on my nightstand. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe that people could change, that this nightmare was finally over, that I could move forward with my life. But something my mama used to say kept echoing in my mind. When someone apologizes too easily, watch their hands, not their mouth. 1 week later, I understood what she meant. I woke up to my phone buzzing with notifications, dozens of messages from friends and former colleagues, missed calls from my mother, texts from people I had not heard from in years. I opened my news app and my world collapsed. Billionaire's wife's secret past exposed. Former stripper, drug addict. Shocking revelations about Marcus Whitmore's simple wife. The article was filled with lies. Fabricated stories about a past I never had. Doctored photos that showed my face on someone else's body in compromising positions. Anonymous quotes from supposed former colleagues describing behavior that had never happened. But that was not the worst part. Some of the photos in the article, I recognized them. They had been taken at my first dinner with the Whitmore family. Innocent photos of me talking, eating, laughing. But they had been manipulated, altered, turned into evidence of things I had never done. The source of the article was listed as an anonymous family member. Only someone inside the Whitmore family could have provided those original photos. I looked at Victoria's flowers still sitting on my nightstand, and I finally understood. Brittany was just the weapon. Victoria was the one pulling the trigger. The fallout was immediate and devastating. The clinic where I had volunteered asked me to take a break until things calmed down. Former patients I had helped sent messages calling me a fraud. My nursing license was under review pending investigation of the false claims. My own mother called, sobbing. "Claire," she said through tears, "please tell me these stories are not true." "They are not, Mama," I said, my voice breaking. "They are lies. All of it is lies. But no one believes you, do they?" I sat in silence, unable to answer. That night, I sat alone in my nursery, surrounded by baby things I had carefully chosen with such hope. The crib Marcus and I had assembled together, the mobile with little stars and moons, the rocking chair where I had imagined singing lullabies, and I cried until I had nothing left. This was my second despair, deeper than the first, because this time it was not just physical humiliation. This time they were trying to destroy everything I was, everything I had built, everything that made me who I am. And for a moment, just a moment, I considered giving up. I do not know how long I sat in that nursery, drowning in despair. Hours maybe, long enough for the sun to set and the room to grow dark around me. But somewhere in that darkness, something shifted. I remembered my grandmother, a tough old woman who had survived the Depression, who had raised 6 children on a farm with no running water, who had buried 2 husbands and still woke up every morning ready to face another day. "A woman who survives is dangerous," she used to say, "but a woman who knows how to fight, she is unstoppable." I wiped my face. I stood up. I walked to the bathroom mirror and looked at myself. Mascara smeared, eyes red and swollen, hair tangled and unwashed. But underneath all that, I saw something else, something harder, something that had been forged in the fire of humiliation and betrayal. I was not going to break. I was not going to let them win. Enough crying, I said to my reflection. Time to work. The next morning, I started my investigation. I did not tell Marcus, not because I did not trust him, but because I needed to protect him. If Victoria discovered that we were onto her, she would cover her tracks. She would disappear the evidence. She would find new ways to hurt us. No, I needed to be smart about this. I needed to gather proof before I made my move. I used my $47,000 savings, the escape fund I had never told anyone about, to hire a private investigator, a woman named Patricia Hayes who came highly recommended for her discretion. I need evidence, I told her. Proof that Victoria Whitmore is behind the fake news stories about me, and anything else you can find about her activities. Patricia nodded. She was a no-nonsense woman in her 50s, with sharp eyes and a handshake like a steel trap. I will need access to certain information, she said. Financial records, phone records. Do you have any of that? Not yet, I said, but I know someone who might. That afternoon, I went to the Whitmore estate. I found Dolly in the kitchen, as I knew I would. She was polishing silver, her movements efficient and practiced. Mrs. Clare, she said, surprised. I did not expect to see you here. After everything that happened, I closed the kitchen door behind me. Dolly, I said quietly, you have worked here for 20 years. You see everything. You hear everything. And I think you know more than you have ever said. She stopped polishing. Her eyes met mine, and for a long moment, neither of us spoke. What do you want to know? She finally asked. Everything. I pulled out a chair and sat across from her. Everything about Victoria. Everything you have seen and heard that you were never supposed to. Dolly set down the silver and the polishing cloth. She looked at the closed door, then back at me. If I tell you, she said slowly, I could lose my job. I could lose everything. I know, I said, and I would never ask you to put yourself at risk. But Dolly, she is trying to destroy me. She already destroyed my reputation. She might be trying to destroy my marriage. And I do not know what else she has planned. Dolly was quiet for a long time. Then she stood up and walked to a cabinet in the corner of the kitchen. She opened a drawer and pulled out a leather-bound notebook. I have been keeping a journal, she said, for 15 years. Names, dates, conversations I overheard, things I saw that I was not supposed to see. She handed me the notebook. I always knew someone would need this one day, she said. I just did not know it would be you. I took the notebook with trembling hands. Thank you, I whispered. Why are you helping me? Dolly smiled sadly. Because you are the first person who ever asked. And because in this house, the rats wear Chanel. I had one more stop to make that day. Grandfather Henry was in his usual spot, parked in his wheelchair by a window in the East Wing. A nurse sat nearby, reading a magazine and ignoring him completely. I asked the nurse for a moment alone with him. She shrugged and I left, clearly believing it did not matter what I said to a man with dementia. I sat down in a chair next to Henry and looked at him. Really looked at him. His eyes were focused on the window, on the garden outside, on nothing in particular. Hello, Mr. Whitmore, I said softly. I am Claire, Marcus's wife. No response, not even a flicker. I know everyone thinks you are not really here anymore, I continued, but I am not so sure about that. I have seen you looking at me. I have seen something in your eyes. Still nothing. Victoria is trying to destroy me, I said. She got Brittany to humiliate me at the wedding, and now she is spreading lies about me to the press. I do not know why yet, but I am going to find out. I waited. Henry continued to stare out the window. I do not expect you to respond, I said, standing up. But if you can hear me, if you understand what is happening, I want you to know that I am not giving up. I am going to fight back. And if there is anything you know that could help me. I left the sentence hanging in the air. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Henry's hand moved. Slowly, shakily, he reached into the pocket of his cardigan and pulled out a small brass key. He held it out to me. Our eyes met, and for the first time, I saw him clearly. Sharp, aware, completely lucid. You are the first person to speak to me like a human in 5 years, he said. His voice was rusty from disuse, but his words were perfectly clear. I stared at him in shock. Everyone thinks I have dementia, he continued. Victoria has spent years making sure of that. It is easier to control someone when everyone believes they are crazy. He pressed the key into my palm. My study on the third floor, he said, behind the painting of the hunting dogs. There is a safe. Inside, you will find everything you need. What is in there, I asked. Proof, he said, that Victoria has been embezzling from the family trust for over a decade. And proof that she had your news stories fabricated. Why have you not told anyone? Who would believe me? He laughed bitterly. The senile old man in the wheelchair? Victoria made sure I was discredited long before I could threaten her. But you, Claire, you are different. You are not part of this family's poison, and you have something I never had. What is that? Marcus, he said, my grandson loves you. He will burn this whole empire down to protect you. Use that. I clutched the key tightly. Thank you, I whispered. Henry's eyes went back to the window, and just like that, the mask of confusion settled over his features again. Do not thank me yet, he said, his voice fading to a mumble. The storm is not over. It is just beginning. The next 3 weeks were a blur of secret meetings, gathered evidence, and careful planning. Patricia, my investigator, worked with the documents from Henry's safe and Dolly's journal to build a comprehensive case. What she uncovered was staggering. Victoria had been embezzling from the Whitmore family trust for over 12 years. Small amounts at first, easily hidden among legitimate expenses. But over time, her greed had grown. She had funneled nearly $8 million into offshore accounts. She had also orchestrated the fake news stories about me. Patricia found digital trails showing that Victoria had hired a reputation destruction firm, the kind that operates in legal gray areas, to fabricate evidence and plant stories with tabloid journalists. The goal was clear. Victoria needed me gone. As long as I was married to Marcus, there was a risk that he would look too closely at the family finances. A risk that her crimes would be discovered. By destroying my reputation and my marriage, she could eliminate that threat. But she had underestimated me. The Whitmore family's annual charity gala was approaching, a massive event held at the estate, with hundreds of guests from Nashville's elite, politicians, business leaders, society figures. It was the perfect venue for my confrontation. I spent days preparing, memorizing the evidence, planning exactly what I would say, recording devices hidden in my jewelry, documents copied and stored in multiple secure locations. I was 8 months pregnant now. The baby was due in 6 weeks. The timing was not ideal, but I could not wait any longer. The night of the gala, I stood in front of my mirror, putting on makeup with steady hands. Marcus appeared in the doorway. You look beautiful, he said. I smiled at his reflection. Thank you. Are you sure you are up for this? He came up behind me, wrapping his arms around my swollen belly. You have been through so much. No one would blame you if you wanted to stay home. I turned to face him. I need to be there, I said. There are things I need to do, things I need to say. He studied my face. What are you planning, Claire? I hesitated. I had not told him about my investigation, about the evidence I had gathered, about what I planned to do tonight. Trust me, I said finally. Just trust me. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. Always, he said, but promise me, if anything feels wrong, if you need me, you will tell me immediately. I promise. Dolly helped me into my dress that night, a stunning deep blue gown that accommodated my pregnant belly while still making me feel powerful. If this goes wrong, Dolly said, zipping up the back, I am retiring to Mexico. If this goes wrong, I replied, I am coming with you. We both laughed, but there was nervous tension underneath. Tonight, everything would change. The gala was in full swing when I made my move. I had watched Victoria all evening, waiting for the right moment. She was holding court near the bar, surrounded by admiring guests, completely confident in her position. She did not see me approach until I was right beside her. Victoria, I said sweetly, could I speak with you privately? There is something I need to discuss. Her eyes flickered with surprise, then something harder. Calculation. Of course, dear, she said smoothly. Lead the way. I led her to a private study off the main ballroom. I closed the door behind us, locked it, and turned to face her. The mask dropped from her face immediately. What do you want? She asked coldly. I pulled out my phone and pressed play on the first recording. Victoria's voice filled the room, discussing the fabricated news stories, instructing someone on how to destroy my reputation. Her face went pale. I have more, I said calmly. Bank records showing $8 million embezzled from the family trust. Witness statements. Digital forensics. Enough to send you to prison for the rest of your life. Victoria stared at me, and for the first time I saw fear in her eyes. What do you want? She asked again, but her voice was shaking now. I pulled out a document. Sign this, I said. It is a full confession. You will also sign over all stolen funds and publicly apologize for the lies you spread about me. And if I refuse, then all of this goes to the FBI tomorrow morning, and to the press, and to every single person in that ballroom. Victoria's hands trembled as she took the document. She read it over, her face cycling through emotions. Fear, anger, calculation. Then, to my shock, she started crying. Claire, she sobbed, please. I made mistakes, I know, but I am Brittany's mother. I am part of this family. Do you really want to destroy me? I watched her tears, and for a moment, just a moment, I wavered. She looked so broken, so defeated. Maybe there was another way. Maybe we could reach some kind of understanding. I have not told Marcus yet, I said slowly. If you cooperate fully, maybe we can work something out. Victoria nodded frantically. Yes, yes, of course. Anything. She signed the document. I took it from her, relief washing over me. Thank you, I said. I knew we could find a solution. I turned toward the door, ready to leave. And that was when Victoria struck. Before I could react, she grabbed a letter opener from the desk and pressed it against my belly. You stupid little fool, she hissed, all traces of tears gone. Did you really think I would let you destroy everything I have built? Victoria, I gasped, please, the baby, give me that document. She said, and your phone. All the evidence, now. My hands shaking, I handed them over. She smiled, a cold, cruel smile. You should have stayed in your lane, Claire, she said. You were never meant to be part of this family, and now I am going to make sure you never will be. She unlocked the door and shoved me out into the hallway. Guards, she called out sweetly. Please escort Mrs. Whitmore out. She is not feeling well. 2 security guards appeared instantly. Wait, I said. You do not understand. She threatened me. She. Victoria laughed. Poor thing. The pregnancy hormones are making her hysterical. She just threatened to blackmail me and destroy our family. Can you imagine? The guards took my arms. No, I shouted. Marcus, where is Marcus? I need to talk to him. But the guards were already dragging me toward the exit. Through the crowd, I saw Marcus. He was talking to Victoria, who had rushed to him with tears streaming down her face. She was gesturing wildly, playing the victim. And Marcus, my Marcus, was looking at me with an expression I had never seen before. Doubt. Marcus, I screamed, please listen to me. But the guards pushed me out the door, and I never got to finish my sentence. I stood in the parking lot of the Whitmore estate, shaking with rage and fear and disbelief. Inside, Victoria was telling Marcus, God knows what lies. And I had no evidence anymore. No proof of anything. I had been so close to ending this nightmare, and I had lost everything. I fumbled for my phone to call Marcus, but before I could dial, a sharp pain ripped through my abdomen. No, I whispered, not now. Please, not now. Another pain, worse than the first. I doubled over, gasping. The stress had triggered something. Contractions, 6 weeks early. I managed to call 911 before I collapsed against my car. The ride to the hospital was a blur of pain and flashing lights and concerned voices. I kept asking for Marcus, kept telling them to call my husband, but no one seemed to be listening. By the time I was in a hospital bed, hooked up to monitors, the news was grim. Mrs. Whitmore, the doctor said, her face serious, you are in premature labor. The baby is in distress. We may need to perform an emergency cesarean section. My husband, I gasped through another contraction. Where is my husband? We have been trying to reach him. The number we have is going to voicemail. Victoria had told him I was fine, that I was just being dramatic, that I had tried to blackmail her. He was not coming. I was alone, completely alone. The monitors beeped frantically. The doctor shouted orders. Nurses rushed around the room, and I lay there, tears streaming down my face, feeling my baby struggle inside me, knowing that I had failed. I had tried to protect my family. I had tried to be smart, to gather evidence, to fight back, and I had lost. My baby might die. My husband thought I had betrayed him, and Victoria had won. I closed my eyes, and for the first time in my life, I gave up hope. But 15 miles away, in a study at the Whitmore estate, someone else was making a move. Grandfather Henry sat in his wheelchair, a baby monitor hidden in the cushions beside him. He had been listening to everything: Victoria's conversation with Claire, her threats, her lies to Marcus, and he had heard enough. With steady hands that belied his supposed dementia, Henry picked up his phone and dialed a number he had memorized years ago. Marcus answered on the third ring. "Grandfather?" His voice was confused, skeptical. "I did not think you could." "Listen to me," Henry said clearly, "and do not interrupt. I am not senile, so I never was. Victoria has been lying to all of us for years. What are you? Your wife is in labor at St. Mary's Hospital. She is alone. She is in danger. And Victoria is the reason. I do not understand." "Victoria," said Claire, tried to. "Victoria is lying," Henry cut him off. "She has been embezzling from the family trust for over a decade. She fabricated those news stories about Claire. She orchestrated the incident at the wedding. All of it was her." "That is impossible," Marcus said, but his voice wavered. "I am sending you proof right now," Henry said. "Everything I have been collecting for years. Bank records, phone recordings, all of it. But Marcus, you do not have time to read it now. Get to that hospital. If you do not get to Claire in the next 20 minutes, you will never forgive yourself." Henry hung up and started sending files. Document after document. Recording after recording. 15 years of evidence that Victoria had thought she had successfully hidden. Marcus's phone exploded with notifications, and as he read, his face transformed. Confusion became understanding. Understanding became horror. Horror became rage. Without a word, he ran for the door. 23 minutes later, Marcus burst into my hospital room. I was being prepped for emergency surgery. The doctors had explained that the baby's heart rate was dropping, that every minute counted. I had accepted that I might not survive, that my baby might not survive, that I would die alone, with my husband believing the worst of me. Then the door flew open, and there was Marcus, disheveled and breathless, his face streaked with tears. "I am here," he said, rushing to my side. "I am so sorry. I am so sorry." I stared at him, certain I was hallucinating. "The baby," I whispered. "Is going to be fine," he said, taking my hand. "We are all going to be fine. I know the truth now. Grandfather sent me everything. I know what Victoria did. I know all of it. You believe me?" My voice cracked. "I never should have doubted," he said. "Not for a single second. I love you, Claire. I love you more than anything in this world. Please forgive me." Doctors shouted that they needed to move now. Nurses prepared to wheel me into surgery. Marcus held my hand until the last possible second. "I will be right here," he said. "I am not going anywhere." Then the doors closed, and they wheeled me into the operating room. The next hour was the longest of Marcus's life. He paced the waiting room. He read through the files his grandfather had sent. He called the police and the FBI and 3 different lawyers. And he prayed to a God he had not talked to in years, begging for his wife and child to be okay. Then finally a nurse emerged with a smile. "Congratulations, Mr. Whitmore," she said. "You have a healthy baby girl." 2 weeks after the birth of our daughter, Marcus held a press conference. The ballroom of the Whitmore estate, the same room where I had been so publicly humiliated, was packed with journalists and cameras. Every major news outlet in the country was represented. I sat in the front row, our daughter Emma sleeping in my arms. Beside me sat grandfather Henry, alert and sharp-eyed in his wheelchair. And Dolly, who had been promoted from housekeeper to family security consultant, complete with a substantial raise. Marcus stood at the podium, looking every inch the powerful billionaire he was. "Thank you all for coming," he began. "I have a statement to make regarding my family and recent events." He paused, looking directly into the cameras. "For the past several months, my wife Claire has been the victim of a calculated campaign of harassment, defamation, and abuse. Today, I am here to set the record straight. He told them everything. Victoria's embezzlement, the fabricated news stories, the wedding incident, the threats, the manipulation. He showed evidence, bank records, phone recordings, witnesses testified via video link. And sitting beside me, watching her world collapse on national television, was Victoria Whitmore. She had been arrested that morning. The police had been courteous but firm. The charges included embezzlement, fraud, witness tampering, and assault. She would spend years in prison. The press conference was only the beginning. Over the following weeks, the public reaction was overwhelming. The videos from the wedding, which had once been shared as entertainment, now became evidence of cruelty. Britney's remaining followers abandoned her entirely. The families who had laughed and recorded instead of helping found themselves socially ostracized. Several lost their jobs. Others were quietly removed from charity boards and social clubs. Justice, it turned out, could be very thorough when a billionaire was motivated to pursue it. But for me, the most important moment came not in a courtroom or a press conference. It came in the nursery of our home, 3 weeks after Emma's birth. I was rocking her to sleep, singing a lullaby my grandmother used to sing to me when I heard footsteps in the doorway. It was Brittany. I froze. I had not spoken to her since the wedding. I had not wanted to. But she looked different now, smaller somehow, humbled in a way I had never seen. "Claire," she said quietly, "I know I do not deserve to be here. I know I have no right to ask for anything. But please, just let me say what I came to say." I continued rocking Emma, not responding. But I did not tell her to leave. Brittany took a shaky breath. "I did not know," she said. "I swear I did not know what my mother was really doing. I thought you were using Marcus for his money. I thought you were the enemy." She told me so many lies, and I believed every one of them. Tears streamed down her face. "That does not excuse what I did at the wedding. Throwing that dirty water on you, pushing you into the storm, that was cruel. That was evil. And I did it because I was jealous and petty, and I wanted to hurt you." She fell to her knees. "I am so sorry, Claire. I am so sorry for everything. I know you can never forgive me. But I wanted you to know that I understand now. I understand what I did, and I will spend the rest of my life trying to become a better person." I looked at her for a long moment. This woman who had tried to destroy me, who had humiliated me in front of hundreds of people, who had locked me out in a storm when I was 7 months pregnant. Part of me wanted to slam the door in her face. Part of me wanted to let her suffer the way she had made me suffer. But I thought about my grandmother, about my mama, about all the strong women who had raised me to be better than my pain. "Stand up," I said finally. Brittany rose to her feet, trembling. "I forgive you," I said. "But forgiveness does not mean forgetting. It does not mean things go back to how they were." "I know," she whispered. "You need to earn your own respect now," I continued. "Build your own life. Learn what real strength looks like. Not strength that comes from money or status or tearing other people down. Real strength, the kind that comes from character." She nodded, tears still flowing. "Actions, Brittany, not words. Show me." She left without another word. I do not know if she will change. I do not know if people like her can change. But I gave her the chance because that is who I am. That is who I choose to be. Later that night, I stood on the balcony of our home, Emma in my arms, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of gold and pink. Marcus came up behind me, wrapping his arms around both of us. "Penny, for your thoughts," he said. I smiled. I was thinking about storms. What about them? When I was standing in that rain at the wedding, I thought it was the worst moment of my life. I thought everything was falling apart. He held me tighter. "But that storm washed away something important," I continued. "It washed away all the illusions about your family, about who really had power, about what really mattered." I turned to face him. "Victoria thought money was power," I said. "She was wrong. Knowledge is power, patience is power, and a woman with nothing left to lose is the most powerful thing in the world." Marcus smiled and kissed my forehead. "You are the strongest person I have ever known." "I did not do it alone," I said. "I had Dolly, your grandfather, Patricia, and you. You believed me when it mattered most." "I almost did not," he said, his voice heavy with regret. "I almost let her convince me. But you did not. You came. That is what matters. We stood there in silence, watching the last light fade from the sky. Claire, Marcus said finally, I almost lost you because I doubted for 1 second. I will never forgive myself for that. Forgive yourself, I said. That is what I learned from all of this. Holding on to anger and resentment only hurts you. It does not hurt the people who wronged you. Is that why you forgave Brittany? Partly. I looked down at Emma, sleeping peacefully in my arms. But mostly I did it because I do not want our daughter growing up in a family full of hatred. I want her to learn that kindness is not weakness, that forgiveness is not foolishness, that real strength comes from knowing when to fight and when to let go. She is lucky to have you as a mother, Marcus said. We are both lucky, I said. Lucky that we found each other. Lucky that we survived. Lucky that we get to build a life together. Speaking of building, Marcus grinned, I have been meaning to tell you something. What? I have decided to step back from the company a bit, delegate more, spend more time at home. Marcus Whitmore, not working 16-hour days? I pretended to be shocked. Who are you and what have you done with my husband? He laughed. I almost lost everything that matters. My wife, my daughter, my family. I'm not going to make that mistake again. He pulled me closer. From now on, you and Emma are my priority. Everything else can wait. Tears pricked my eyes. I love you, I whispered. I love you too. Both of you. We stood there as the stars came out, one by one, filling the sky with light. The storm was over, and everything that came after was beautiful. 6 months later, I held a small gathering at our home. It was Emma's first birthday. My mama had flown in from Tennessee. Dolly was there, of course, wearing a dress for once instead of her housekeeper's uniform. Grandfather Henry sat in the garden, surrounded by great-grandchildren who finally understood that he was not the senile old man they had been told he was. Even Brittany was there, helping serve cake, clearly still working on her redemption. Marcus stood up to give a toast. To my wife, he said, raising his glass. The woman who taught me that real strength does not come from money. It comes from character. It comes from kindness. It comes from the courage to keep fighting even when everything seems lost. He looked at me with so much love that my heart ached. And to our daughter, he continued, may she be exactly like her mother. Everyone raised their glasses. I blushed and looked down at Emma, who was covered in frosting and giggling happily. Later, after the guests had left and Emma was asleep in her crib, Marcus and I sat together in the nursery. You know, I said, there is something I have been meaning to tell you. What is that? I took his hand and placed it on my belly. Emma is going to be a big sister. His eyes widened. You mean you are? Pregnant, I confirmed. About 8 weeks. For a moment, he just stared at me. Then his face broke into the biggest smile I had ever seen. He pulled me into his arms and held me like he would never let go. I love you, he said into my hair. I love you so much. I love you too. And as we sat there in our daughter's nursery, surrounded by love and hope and the promise of new beginnings, I thought about everything we had been through. The dirty water, the storm, the lies and betrayal, the moment when I had given up hope entirely. Victoria had wanted to drown me in that storm. Instead, she had washed away every illusion about who really had power. She had thought money was power. She was wrong. Knowledge is power, patience is power, love is power. And a woman who has been through the fire and come out stronger on the other side, she is the most powerful thing in the world. Some storms come to destroy you, but the best ones, they come to clear the path forward. And as I leaned into my husband's arms, feeling my daughter's heartbeat against my palm, I knew that the best was yet to come. The storm was finally over, and everything after was beautiful.